Apologetic Studio. We in this bitch. Once again, Tight Beat, a producer podcast. Today we talking about some interesting things. We talking about a little bit about ageism and a few other things. I got next to me my man, president of the company. Also today, another masked man, Kid Maestro in the building. We call him Kidrick LaMaestro on Instagram. Kidrick LaMaestro.
You know what's funny? There's a dude who's actually pretty dope. We gotta link with him one day. His name is K Le Maestro.
Wow.
So don't follow him. Follow me, official Kid Maestro.
Now they gonna
Yes,
Nah, but
indeed.
shout out to him. He's dope.
Shout out to him. Big shout out to you for being on the podcast. LaKidrick, La Maestro, L.A. You know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. Behind me, we have the illustrious Unique on deck. You know what I'm saying?
Period.
Period is on deck as well. You know what I mean? We also have my man LJ.
Yo, LJ1S, what's good?
LJ1S on deck, man. Producer, engineer in the house. Y'all might have known him because he's frequently showed up to these bitches. And as always, in the background, fact checking us at any given moment while providing statistics and data. We have Sheena in the building. Hello. All right. The topic, y'all might have read it as we posted this up. Big shout out to whoever's already in this joint who's waiting on us to pop up. LJ, what we talking about?
I'm refrain from saying that, but yeah, we're talking about
Big shout out, bro.
ageism.
We're talking about ageism
in hip hop.
right?
This one was tough for me. I don't know if it's because now I'm getting the OG call now. People be like, yo, what up, bro? That's anyway.
They're calling you Unc.
Yeah,
What up, Unc?
I ain't got Unc yet, bro. I feel like that's a fall back.
Damn.
Uncle LJ, bro.
For a minute, so I ain't got that
Uncle
yet.
LJ, bro.
I got
Come on,
that.
bro.
See, unless you my real like niece and nephews, that's cool. But like, nah, being out like on the scene and get like OG, that was wild. But yeah, ageism in hip hop, man. And why is it a thing? And if so, why is it a thing?
Yeah.
I've growing up on this journey, I've definitely heard it a lot. That rap is a young man's game, or hip hop is a young man's game. And we talked about if that's still the case, so to speak, before we jumped on to the podcast. Me personally, I feel like that's slowly fading. Just due to, I guess, if we're going to look at who's current and stuff of that nature, like even the artists that's out now still doing it, especially talk about like Benny, of course Jay, Nas. These are older cats, older guys, and they still killing this on the music scene at a high level. So me personally, I don't feel that's still the case. But this is why we're talking about it.
There's a lot of factors to discuss here. Real quick, I just want to shout out and for those listening, those watching, if it ever sounds crackly, if it ever sounds like there's some weird distortion, please let us know in the chat. There's a quick fix for us to do that, but we're dealing with some interesting technical issues that cause that on the back end. Pause. You feel me? So, you know what I mean?
The crunchy one.
Please be communicative. Help us out. Look out for us. Kid Maestro, how you feel about the topic?
Yeah, man. It just depends on where we want to go with this jump, because, like, I think there's no. It's hard to argue, that our society is infatuated with youth, and when you are youthful, that just has a certain energy that is attractive to people. But I think two things. One, it's just an energy. I feel like it's more so how you think, forward thinking ideas. I don't think it has to do with your age per se. But two, I feel like you can lean too heavily into that, and I feel like I've started to be able to see like people who are younger, like very early 20s, like make being young a part of their brand.
Yeah, that's a super fit.
And it's like, yo, you're literally setting yourself up off of something that literally will not like it's just crazy.
The only way you escape that is death.
Yeah, it's like
if you don't die, this will be over soon.
Yeah.
Boy, you see Maze, that man still look like he about 12. So,
yeah, I mean, so you can.
Younger than when he actually 20.
Yeah, you can. I mean, you can get the Pharrell joint, but I mean, but think about Pharrell. That man is like, if he's not, he's like approaching 50. Like, he's about to be 50 years old, and it's like it's so yes, he looks young, but that's because like he just takes care of himself. There are things that, and he still is. I just feel like it's more so authenticity. I feel like when you play into the ideas of what certain ages afford you or allow you to certain do, specifically when it comes to your creative endeavors, like you put yourself in that box and you subscribe to those things, and now you got to play by those rules. Now, yeah, get it popping before you hit 28, because you bought into the idea that it's over for you. And I feel like when you're younger and you buy into that, there comes a little bit of karma. It's hard to get out of that. You want to escape it. You want to be wise. Like, actually, I was, I guess that's a part of growing up. Yeah, I was foolish or maybe a little bit naive to put all my eggs in the basket of my age. But now I feel like internally you got to deal with the people you called old, the energy you put out into the world, and trying to reverse that for yourself. So I know me personally, I feel very blessed in that all the people that I looked up to were all adults. I don't feel like I really looked up to a lot of kids, except when I was like little, just like the kids of the gang when I was a kid. Of course, you see yourself in them, but all of them grew up, and the people that became my heroes were all like grown ass people, and so that never really, I don't know. I feel like I never really had to struggle with that too much. So I don't know.
I do wanna, just for the sake of discussion, I want to say like one of the people pushing youth the most was Drake. Like when Drake came out, his number one diss to everybody else was like, "Y'all are old, I'm young."
Literally.
You know what I'm saying?
Literally.
Now Drake is closer to 40 than he is 30. Still on top of the game. He's still maintaining. He somehow transitioned out of young into I'm Drake.
Yeah, because I feel like it was a mindset. Now I will say, when I think about Drake, that's not.
I just want to shout out my bad. Yeah. Do that. Big shout out to everybody in the chat. Huey, Jay Screwed, Quota, what up? Everybody chiming in. Hey, if you haven't already leave a comment, chime in the chat. Let us know you're here. Let us know your thoughts. Go ahead, kid.
Yeah, so I'll say this. I don't disagree with that. Personally, when I think about Drake, I don't even remember all his beats, but that's true. I mean, I'm thinking specifically of the jump with Common, but that was kind of like his jump. But again, it's a mindset. Like, you don't think of an old nigga that been doing it for, over a decade. When you think of Drake, you think of somebody being himself and out there, you know what I'm saying, pushing. And then, you obviously have to consider the secret tactics, which is he surrounds himself with all the up and coming talent to remain youthful. But that's that's what you do when you young too. You make music with the people you fuck with. And when if the people you fuck with are younger than you, like, you know what I'm saying, that helps expand your fan base, that helps introduce, and it helps keep your ideas fresh. I mean, that's just what you do. Older people who are stuck in their ways, the thing that the negative characteristics that you notice are they're just not open to new ideas. They're not open to people coming up. They feel threatened. And it's like, nah, like, I know some shit that's gonna make your shit pop, you know what I'm saying? And you know some shit that's gonna, that I'm not doing. So let's just be creative. So I feel like when you focus on age, like, that becomes the box you put yourself in, honestly. It's in my opinion. But it's easier said than done. Like, I'm personally around a bunch of people who, you know, we champion being unapologetically yourself and being authentically yourself. You know what I'm saying? Matt Beats, who's leading this joint, is, you know what I'm saying, he was older than me. You know what I'm saying? Again, all the people I'm looking up to is older. So I have to acknowledge that it's probably easier for me. I don't feel the societal pressure as heavy as some other people, maybe, some other artists. Because our culture definitely be like, you getting too old, you know what I'm saying? Especially for women. You know, I don't know. So, yeah, I don't know.
That's a good segue.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I feel you on that because I have a lot of female hip hop artists that I look up to that are older than me. Like I really can't really see myself looking up to the what do they call it, the Gen Z generation or the millennials or anything like that. Like it's just an authenticity that came from women in hip hop from before. You know what I'm saying? Like no matter where you came from, like no matter how you look, no matter how you acted, like no matter how old you were, you know what I'm saying? Like even take Queen for example. Like Queen Latifah is like, you know, I think she's about like in her 60s almost. The Brat, you know what I'm saying? They're up in age, but they're still making themselves very much relevant to this day. You know what I'm saying? Was MC Light, Rhapsody. Shout out to Rhapsody. That's home right there. But it's just, I don't know. I do think, for me, in my own opinion, I do believe there should be some kind of like pause on saying like I am hip hop without like dissing the ones that came before you. Like a lot of the female, like I've seen a lot of like new female rappers, like they don't give proper credit due to the women that came before them, and if they do, it's to people who pretty much aren't relevant anymore these days, and it kind of sucks.
Yeah, I am truly curious to explore the difference of ageism in gender, right, and how one potentially is more extreme than the other, right? But there's also this other dynamic that I feel like we have not talked about yet, right? So when I think back to like, all right, man, like why, if I'm 18 and I'm in rap, right? Why is it so important for me to make sure everybody knows I'm 18? Right? Like why? And the reason why I asked that is because like in the 90s, 18-year-olds were trying to look and sound almost 30.
Yep.
Right? There was a dynamic of you wanted to look and sound like an OG. You wanted to look and sound like you've been on the streets. Like
you've experienced.
Absolutely. Yeah. You wanted that season. You know what I'm saying? And then at some point things kind of changed where it's like now you have people who are 30 years old. They're trying to sound like they're 17.
Yeah. They're
trying to act and move as reckless, you know, as free flowing as a younger person, right? Even to the point where like there are some rappers who like 10 years ago they rapped like this, and now they rap like this. It's because they want their voice to sound lighter and younger.
Get the little man right? About your voice, man.
And so I think about these dynamics, and I wonder like, you know, what happened and where the shift was. So I feel like we can't bring this topic up. Like some chapter of this topic is Soulja Boy. Like Soulja Boy and the whole YouTube dance, Ice-T, that was just as big in rap and the turn of rap as Kanye verse 50.
Yeah.
Right? It doesn't get as mentioned as much because those two aren't titans in the, you know, in terms of like Kanye and 50 are titans.
Yeah,
right. Soulja Boy and Ice-T and that whole scenario they're not as big artists, but that was equally influential at the time.
Very.
In terms of like, because let me be clear about something. We can shout out ageism in hip hop all day, right? But the perpetrators of that are in both directions. Meaning, we could talk about, you know, young people calling old people old and out of here, right? And on the other side of that is old people not letting go not
Yes.
allowing,
Yeah.
right? Like not like acting like because you not like me, you not real, right?
Yeah.
Like and so it almost feels like a lot of the ageism that we witness now is not just at the hands of young people trying to make old people old. It's young people trying to fight for a space to be accepted just because what they do isn't what was originally done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel that.
I feel like, and and let us know, like, if comment in the chat, you know what I'm saying, what y'all think. But I'm wondering too, like, at the time where, like, I would say Nas and Jay-Z, like, when they were coming up, like, did that dynamic exist? Because if they're, outside of, like, maybe, Drake, and maybe it's not like this, but where I'm getting at is that, like, I'm wondering if, when some of the older rappers that are older now, when they were first coming up in the game, like, if there was an acceptance from the people that they looked up to, or was it more so, just like younger people, where it wasn't that acceptance and they just got it out the mud and then became the biggest things for the genre, right? And don't recognize that cycle of a lack of acceptance.
So this was my experience of witnessing that dynamic, right? So there were two things in play there. First and foremost, you had your, like, Sugar Hill Gang, Houdini, like 80s rap era, you know what I'm saying? And then when the 90s came, yes, rap had progressed, right? What up? I see you, DJ Zed, in the house. What up? You should be in here talking about this, man. But like, you had that, like, 10-year period of, like, rap going from, like, almost kind of partyish and good vibes and honestly very pro-black, right? Into a kind of commercialism, right? Also in both directions, a kind of commercialism. That's where you get, like, your Sir Mix-a-Lots and all that, right? And your MC Hammers, right? But then it also extra street, right? That's when now people selling drugs and rap.
Right.
Now you got the streets that took hold. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so while that was a deviation from the original format and the original purpose, I don't think it was far enough of a deviation for the OGs to be like, all right, this shit's getting out of control, right? And so the OGs were there, and they were still working as well. I also think that a part of it just reminded me of a basketball court, fam. Like, as a young dude, you always knew the person who's gonna foul the most is the oldest dude on the court, right? And it's not necessarily that they're less athletic or whatever, right? It's just that, they're trying to find a way to maintain some level of dominance over you when you're quicker and faster, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So they gonna foul you, and then when you call foul, they gonna call you a bitch.
You weak because
you can't take it. We real men out here, right? But in actuality, my G, you just didn't move your feet. You're playing defense with your hands, and you fouled me. You know what I'm saying? And so I don't think in that 90s era, those early rappers had lost enough domain yet to truly feel insecure or potentially threatened by this next generation, right? I think that happened at the 20-year mark. I think that happened right around 2000, right? Right around 2000 was the real 20-year mark, right? That's also when the industry changed, right? Digital, Napster, MP3s, everything. Shortly afterwards was the birth of my nigga Soulja Boy.
I was just gonna say Soulja Boy.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I really think that once they got past that threshold, that's when OGs was like, all right, hold on. 20 years later, now their relevance is at an all-time low, right? They're threatened by the potentiality of this new era, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And also, now you see, here's another thing too. Like, if you were talking about the 10-year mark, like, Jay-Z and Nas 1000% knew who Houdini was. They grew up with them, right? They idolized them, right? They 100% knew who Sugar Hill Gang was, all these people, right? No, you know what I'm saying? The 2000s era had no idea who these niggas, they didn't know nothing. And so they took that as even further disrespect, right? And I think that is what caused this.
It's like you're not acknowledging me.
Exactly.
Right.
So let me assert the fact that I should be in here and have an opinion on what you do.
Right.
I also think it goes to just the idea that it feels so weird saying younger, but the current or younger generation when it comes to music, I think there's an idea that a lot of them don't do the homework versus, I feel like the OGs, so to speak, in the 90s and everything, like you said, Jay-Z, they knew the history.
Absolutely.
Versus now, there is a good amount of they don't know. You ask them, like, I forgot who I was talking to when we were just talking about music in general, like, and I was just mentioning like certain artists, and they were like, "Who is that?" I mentioned certain albums. They like,
okay, so I feel that. I do feel like there is like just people in general.
Yeah.
Like I mean outside of rap, people are just looking backwards a lot less.
Yeah.
Right. But I also will say this though, to be fair, right? Like when I was coming up, like, I mean, the amount of rappers to look back to was like 1.1% of what amount of rappers there are to look back to right now.
Right.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
It wasn't that many.
I'm saying, like, if you were to get hip hop greatest hits, and like 3 different companies put out, 80% of those songs are gonna be the same song.
Literally.
Right?
Literally.
Now,
true.
it's a million songs. Like,
I think too. I mean, this conversation brings up a good point, and just like on the state of the industry itself and like what success looks like. So I feel like I have less empathy for the particularly older people who like feel like who want to hate on newer iterations of the genre, right? Because it's not what they do. Then maybe previously, in the Ice-T era, because back then, you know what I'm saying, like it wasn't very clear, like, you got to sell records, and I feel like the airways, right, were a lot more limited. Like I feel like the competition for attention was competition that converted to career success. I think, in my opinion, was a little more constricted. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's only so many spots on the radio, and the radio was like,
that's not your opinion, that's facts.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? So many spots on the radio, and everybody's competing for them few spots. But now, like, it's you can find your audience. You can find the people interested in what you do, because there's definitely somebody else that thinks like you, right? And maybe what you do is not what the world seems to be interested in, or what it appears to be interested in because of what companies are pushing, right? But you 1000% have a shot to be appreciated and accepted. You know what I'm saying?
Do you think most artists know that? Or do you think okay, here's my question. I don't have the answer to this. This is not a leading question. Do you think most artists are aware of how vast and various and diverse audiences are across the world? Or do you think most artists feel like the most celebrated or most right down the middle approach to this is the only real way to make it?
I think most artists aren't aware, but only in the sense that they're that the definition of success is limited.
Hold on a second. Your mic is low, so there's 18 of us in here. Who is your?
Check. Yo. Kid Maestro mic's low?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not sure who he's talking about. He's talking about me? All right. Anyway, continue.
Yeah. So I feel like if you define success as Drake, Lil Uzi Vert, you know what I'm saying, J. Cole, you know what I'm saying, like
right.
Tyler the Creator, like these levels of artists, right? Then it would be extremely hard for you to see, like, I feel like it would be hard to see the scope of the diversity in the amount of people and what people are interested or could be interested in the world. But if you start to open your horizons, maybe be a little bit more aware of the genre that you're participating in, you would see your Tech Nines, you would see your Currencies, you would see even your current Soulja Boys. You know what I'm saying? And then you would see, you know, in this type beat, then you would see your Knowledges, you would see your.
Okay, I feel that. But like, I feel like this kind of ventures into another lane of thought here. Like, do you think most artists think success can happen without mainstream clout? Meaning, like the artists that you're mentioning, right? We could talk about alchemists, right? We could talk about people who are having real successful careers
before social media. No.
Okay, I'm saying, do you think that the average artist feels like a very successful career can be absent of mainstream clout?
It's hard to say. Well, go ahead.
I think it's slowly changing. Okay. Just due to, like you said, social media, the internet. Like, you're seeing more viral sensations, and a lot of those viral sensations are, as of late, like converting over to being on the radio and stuff of that nature. And a lot of times that does come with the visibility in what most people deem as success. So I feel like that gap is slowly changing. That dynamic of feeling like if I'm not this type of artist, then I won't be successful. I definitely feel like that's changing now. Versus if you said like ask this question like 5-10 years ago, it'd be a difference. I mean, honestly,
like
Soulja Boy kicked off. It changed the dynamic, but even furthermore now, like we're seeing more Soulja Boys on the regular.
That's facts.
I was gonna say back then, like most, like you used to have to pay the DJs just to even get your music spin. You had to go find the DJ that's, you know, playing all the hot shit and probably grease his palms or whatnot. Nowadays, you can just go to social media and create a trend with your music behind it and get a bunch of people to grab onto it, and boom, you got a hit overnight.
On TikTok now, your song gets playing in
literally
every club or whatever.
Okay, so just so that I can get a reference. There's 10 artists in a room, right? How many of them do you think believe that they can be successful without mainstream clout? How many of them do you think are aware of that and you know that's a part of their plan?
Probably like a good 30% of that.
So 3 out of 10. Is that what you would say?
Yeah, I would say 5. Yeah, I'm giving like at least 50% in 2023. Okay. I think. And I think that's a relatively new kind of realization. Like, people been going viral, but, you know, in the same way that ageism is kind of a cultural push, a cultural push is the idea that you can make it too, and there are multiple ways outside of radio. Like, no labels necessary. You know, the Russes of the world have definitely opened up everybody to this kind of entrepreneurial mindset.
You know who I think, or you know what I think is like an extreme catalyst of this thought in 2023? TikTok.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
definitely.
Every other social media before TikTok, like some level of success and or celebrityism, like I just feel like real life played a bigger role in how you appeared on social media and every other social media. TikTok. Man, you can 1,000%. You could be Jay-Z of TikTok, and nobody on any other platform ever heard of you.
Man, I'm telling you.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could truly have thousands, hundreds of thousands, you know, like fans and everything. You know what I'm saying? On TikTok, and they have a real. I mean, I don't know how long TikTok will sustain, but as long as TikTok is there, have a real engagement and following and everything.
Yeah.
And in real life and other social medias, I've never heard of you.
Yeah.
No, that's a fact. I've definitely come across artists on TikTok, and they have a huge following, or even producers have a huge following, whatever, and I look them up on IG or any other platform.
And nobody's heard of it.
With the same videos and everything, same content, the engagement count is totally different.
Yeah.
With the fans and everything, it's completely different. So
Definitely.
TikTok definitely has opened that lane.
TikTok is the most like find a niche social media I've ever seen. You know, so much that like when you go down these tunnels on TikTok, man, it feels like Brooklyn. Like there are parts of Brooklyn where you will not be sure if you're still in the United States.
That part.
Like you will be in Russia, 1,000%. Like you know, yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, that's the reason I have a little bit less sympathy is because like you to have the attitude that like well to lean into the insecure. So everybody deals with insecurity. So that's just a hurdle you're just gonna have to get over. But to then focus your attention on, you know, through that insecurity on people doing their thing in music as, you know, as a way to cope with the fact that things aren't happening for you. I just feel like that's just you projecting your insecurities on other people and also being uninformed about what you would like to accomplish.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like you're not, because if you feel that way, you're not really trying to me. Like you're not engaged enough, you know what I'm saying, to know, just double down on what you do. You know what I'm saying? To know that you can 100% throw some ads and target fans of people that are fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, who's doing what you like? There's somebody out there. You know what I'm saying? And you know what I'm saying? Like,
no, your argument or not your the things you're mentioning now is why I asked the question I asked, right? Because it's like I wonder, would all of this, the reason this topic even exists, would it exist if artists truly considered like your audience is your own movements away from you? Like it's like you can control your reach to your audience. Like it's not it is not the same competition it once was for these very limited spaces, right?
Right.
And so when people act like it is, it makes me wonder: are you aware? Like do you still think we're like slavery is still like things have changed? Like you know what I'm saying? Like are you aware of the resources you have to control your own relevance with your own audience in a way to where what you're doing and saying about this person over here is a waste of energy.
Literally.
Yeah.
Man.
Literally.
And that's what's kind of on the other side is what's a little bit scary about, you know, when artists put their brands behind their age because they're young.
Yeah.
Like you don't even know that it's not even about that. You know what I'm saying? Like what you're doing, you're either doing what you're doing because that's what you think people your age should be doing, right? And then that's not gonna last because you're gonna be either doing that same thing, which you know what I'm saying is not gonna be relevant, or you're gonna be constantly changing who you are to fit this idea of being young, where it's like, just do what's authentic to you, and retain those people. You know what I'm saying? And then you can become, you know, whatever your version of Drake is, because all of us that found out about Drake when we were in high school or middle school, like, are still fans of him today, and he's getting new fans. You know what I'm saying? Like, Drake is almost 40. Drake is almost 40.
You think in 2023 there are people who are like, Drake, never heard of him. Let's check it out. You think there are people who are, and then they're just going back and looking at the catalog and being like, yo, this guy's a genius.
Man, I definitely have been that person. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
it's funny because you just interviewed, what's that girl's name? Bobby.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's hilarious. I love her whole thing. But on there, right? So she has this whole dynamic of I don't know a Drake song, and like even Drake speaks to this dynamic where Drake is laughing like, you've never heard a Drake song. But think about it. I was slick like, yo, what kind of stunt is that? Where you feel quantifiably and emotionally like you certain enough to be like, bro, you've heard one of my songs. Calm down. Like, that's a wild stunt.
You never, yeah. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, Drake, you know, clearly is one of those artists where you've heard that. You know, I've never actually heard Drake in in a mall before, but maybe that's coming one day. Maybe that's coming one day.
I
Where
literally haven't either.
when he
but
gets
yeah.
when he does the Christmas album and he's on his Mariah Carey
I
vibes.
would love, you know what's funny?
Have
I would
yourself
love to meet somebody who has never, who, hold on. I don't want to be clear about something. I want to meet somebody who is someone who listens to music.
Right.
That's
Mhm.
the thing. I
That's
feel like
the
you can go
thing,
and find
yeah.
somebody who don't listen to music who's never heard of Drake or
Yeah.
never heard a Drake song. Sure.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like people who are like, nah, they be on Spotify and have never heard a Drake song, and you're not like 6. I would love to talk to those people and be like, all right, listen to this. What you
Yeah.
think?
Especially because Drake is in damn near every genre of
Ever.
music.
Literally,
Like,
literally.
every genre, right?
Yeah.
He's on every radio station. He's on every
Yeah.
for the past almost 20 years.
That's crazy when you think about it.
Yeah, man.
Every album he drops the whole album on the whole radio station, like literally.
Yeah.
I would love to find that person.
Yeah. So maybe not Drake. You know what I'm saying? But I mean, but still, like, where I was going with that is there's gonna be young people who are growing up and like, you know, everybody's heard Whitney Houston song, but not everybody's a fan of Whitney Houston. But you know, people will go back and discover the catalog and be like, damn, I love
Yeah.
this person. You know what I'm saying? Like we all, you know, go back like, yo, this.
Like Anita Baker.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, you know.
Yeah, like Anita Baker. So, I think, and why? Because Drake is doing, he ain't worried about, I don't know. I just feel like he's just worried about doing what he's trying to do. You know what I'm saying? He's not worried about what other people drop in. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. I just to go back to the original aerial view of this topic, I do think that ageism in hip hop is at an all-time low. I also want to give a big shout out, man. I want to give a big shout out to all the people who have kind of really shown that. I know we talked about Jay-Z, right?
Snoop.
Yeah, big shout out to Snoop. But you know who I feel like more recently put the pin in that? Griselda. Absolutely.
Yeah.
What Griselda has done, because they're not just, it's different. We could talk about Jay, right? Jay is from the 90s, so he's had a momentum of success to carry that torch,
Right. Yeah.
right? You talking about Griselda,
Yeah.
like in the span of hip hop, these dudes was relatively new, doing a sound from 20 plus
Man,
years ago.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
25 years ago, right? And none of them is 20 nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And somehow they took off.
Because the niggas is authentic as fuck.
Absolutely.
Like,
Absolutely. I agree with that.
and they ain't worried about, you know what I'm saying, trying to, you know what I'm saying, hate on another. And now the niggas that they would stereotypically be hating on, right, is doing songs with them niggas. Like,
Nah, that's a fact.
because it's just respect. Like, nah, I respect what you're doing, and I'm doing me. You know what I'm saying? So,
That's one thing I used to respect about Tech Nine. Still do. Like that nigga was the biggest. I don't know if he still is, but the biggest underground artist, like for a very long time. Like he knew his lane, whether there was a lane for it or not. You know what I'm saying? He knew what he wanted. Like his whole team matched that whole energy. Like anything they dropped, they sold out. You know what I'm saying? Like whether it was on mainstream radio or not, like you knew who Tech Nine was. You know what I'm saying? Snow the Product, all of them. Like
I always feel like with Tech Nine though, like, yeah, that's mine. I always felt like with Tech Nine, like, man, Tech Nine was the guy who had done all of the direct to consumer stuff, and then like never converted that, right? Meaning like if you weren't tapped into Tech Nine, you had no idea who Tech Nine was. You know
I
what I'm
feel you
saying?
on
Like
that.
if you weren't like you know somebody who dwelled in those kinds of spaces, you just had no idea. Meanwhile, like there are plenty of people who I have never heard their music, but I know who they are.
mm-hmm.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But with Tech Nine, I always felt like, man, like it's even as you said, like Tech Nine was the biggest, right? For me, it's kind of hard to be like. I feel like Tech Nine had a huge impact on the people who were aware of him.
Okay.
Right.
I feel that.
So he
I
had
feel
an
that.
intense impact on those people.
Mhm.
Right. But I don't think and he might have had bigger audiences pull up to his show than Doom, but I don't think he was ever bigger than Doom.
No.
You know what I'm saying? I don't think he was, and because of that, because I feel like Doom did that. Doom had that intense underground thing, and then it was converted.
Yeah.
It converted to because he aligned himself with a mainstream brand
Still to
and
this day.
Adult Swim. Exactly. Right?
So yeah, this goes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier, is that I do feel like you do have to, in order to get past this whole like age is a factor thing, you have to sort of shift your definition of success a little bit, because if you're 35, right, and you want to be Little Uzi Vert, right,
It's not gonna happen.
there is, you know what I'm saying, like we're talking about what brands do you get to invest in you in that level, and for what reason? Like what brand partnerships do you get? You know what I'm saying, and for what reason? Like what are the things that make Lil Uzi Vert who he is, right? Compared to if you're trying to, have those things, there's gonna be a big disconnect.
Mm-hmm.
Not even just from your look or people knowing how old you are, but just the experiences, like the way you even look at the world is just. You know what I'm saying? A decade of difference. It's hard to come at life from that same angle that's going to get you, that level of attention in that way. But if you shift, like, okay, well, I want, get a little bit more minute with it. Like, I want shows that are sold out, and I want this much amount of money for my music. You know what I'm saying? Like, I want to tour the world. Like, then you can start to like, okay, how can I get around not going down this path to reach these same situations?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like with Tech-N9ne, I think you're right. He didn't have that same like impact on the world. And I wonder like if he ever like wanted that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wonder
he definitely could have converted.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I mean, in every
And
way.
he had the artist to do it too.
I mean, his live performance, he had the music for it,
Definitely.
and more importantly, he had the capital. That's a rich man.
Definitely.
He 1000% didn't need a major label in any
Definitely.
way to take the world by storm. And
Strange music.
Strange Music was gangster. You know
Strange.
what I'm saying?
It's a great name too. Like,
It's amazing,
Yeah.
and I wish somebody from the crew, the Strangers. You know what I'm saying? I rock with you. You know what I'm saying? It was great. Big shout out to Tech-N9ne.
Shout out.
Big shout out like all the pioneers who just kind of took things into their own hands. But is that the end of this ageism conversation?
I did want to add. There was one part of this we didn't discuss. If we got time.
Yeah, we got time.
I was wondering too, like, okay, let's say you buy into the idea, like, nah, like this is 100% like you need youth to succeed in this, like there is a time limit. Stop being naive. If that's your mindset, like, what do y'all think is the age that you are old?
30.
So, soon as you hit 30, that's the jump.
I mean, I can't lie. It's like since I hit 30, I'm 33, so this is when I start getting the OG call. So
It's 30.
30 years old.
that's
Yeah. So there's no malleability in that junk. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, you gotta go talk to 14-year-olds. They're the ones who make the rules for this. Like,
nah, that's a fact. Cause I definitely remember like being that age and being like, "You 30, you old," like, or hear everybody around saying like.
But I think about that all the time. Like I often think about how like when I met Pro, I was 28, right, and he was 20 or 21. You know what I'm saying? And how he looked at me like I might as well have been 53 years old. Like,
Damn.
you know what I'm saying? Like I was already triple OG. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like I was just like, that's wild, man. You know.
It's so interesting, bro. Like that dynamic is. And I'm wondering if this is just an old nigga perspective, but it's just like it's almost just like you just kind of feel bad because I feel like part of that whole idea is that when you're 18 or 16 or whatever, when you think about your life, most people, at least the people I was around, like, you dream big. Like, yeah, I'm gonna be a millionaire by this age, and I'm gonna be married and have kids by this age, and I'm gonna do this and this by this age. And you think, like, you just gonna be on top of the world by 23 and get to 30 and, you know, be ready to retire.
Yep.
And that's just so not even like, that's not, that's such a small minority of what's real. And then when that's not the way your life is panning out, when you're like 25 and you're working this job still, and you're like, okay, you know what I'm saying, I'm not 30. And then you're 27 and like you've built something, but you can't appreciate it because, you know, it's not sustaining you the way you thought, right? It's like, I don't know, it just feels like every year just ends up being a disappointment than an advancement. You know what I'm saying?
Let's talk about this, fam. All right, so like, you know, I'm a producer, engineer. I know I run a label, but I also work with a lot of artists in this community. I have worked with hundreds of artists in this community. You know, man, like, I absolutely hate when a nigga realizes. I actually hate that dynamic, and I'm gonna tell you why. It's because, like, from an external, like, person involved, I hate watching people go through the anxiety and depression of feeling like they're running out of time in something they're not, right? And you got to see how that affects them, and people start trying to find ways to not feel like a failure, so then they start to convince themselves that they wanted other things and they didn't, right? And so and then so you just deal with the collapse of somebody's whole identity simply because they didn't reach milestones that they thought they should have reached by certain time periods, right? And you know there is no convincing, like, they just have to go through it,
right?
Because they were set up from this moment. Somebody, when they were 15 years old, they said to somebody, "Yo, I'm gonna be a millionaire by this age," right? And then the person that they were talking to couldn't find a way to help them be more realistic, because you don't want to discourage them. Nah, I want you to aim at every star in the sky, right? I want you to be like, nah, go for the money. You want to be a millionaire? You want to do this? You want to do that? Let's go, right? Right. But at the same time, like, if you don't find a way to interject the odds against you, right? If you don't find a way to include that in your response, you're setting this person up for a decade of disappointment and a decade of anxiety that is unnecessary, right? Because they have these ideas of what's supposed to happen by a certain amount of time that's not even real. None of it is real, right? And so as somebody on this side of the game who has been past these milestones, been past these benchmarks, and realized, wow, none of these had anything to do with my career or my potential to be successful. Like, I have tried to say that to people, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't work, at least not for me, right? I've never seen anybody convey that once it's already baked in. If you didn't tell that to that 14-year-old, once they're 22, 25, you just got to let them get past 30.
Because you're a hater now.
Yeah, exactly. You just got to let them get past 30 and realize the world didn't end, right?
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden they're reopening themselves up. But in that 27, 28 to like 31 period, they're just dark. They feel like it's over for them. They dedicated their life to something that ain't gonna work out. Blah 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 blah. And you just gotta sit there and just wait on these motherfuckers. Hurry up, get through it. Damn.
Yeah. Nah, that's real.
Yeah.
That's why we trying to talk to Elo now. Like, hey, look, bro, it's okay. This is not the worst time of your life. Like, it's fine.
I hate that.
That's real though. That's real. Man.
I was in that space for a good minute. I can relate to that, and it definitely took some time for me to be like, okay, the world is bigger than me and my fucking emotions or whatever I was going through or whatever somebody else told me, you know, in the past. Like, it's not over type shit. I don't have to, like, you know what I'm saying, be stuck in this mindset of, oh, I'm supposed to be a certain somebody by a certain age. I'm 34 years old right now, and I still feel like I definitely have a long way to go and still gonna keep going with it. You know what I'm saying? No matter what it is. is not over.
I think it is though important. Just
You think so?
it just.
Damn.
I think it is though.
I was saying like I think it
You
is.
old as hell, bro.
It is important though.
Top of jazz.
It's important to be realistic, but also have like that type of confidence in you. Like this is still going to happen.
Yeah.
Because you realize, of course, life happens. A lot of things you can't plan for.
Mm-hmm.
But you still need to have that urgency on getting to wherever the fuck you're trying to get to.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, more time will pass, and then you be looking up at 50 like, yeah, I can, And granted, you probably can when you hit 50 still achieve certain things that you want, but like we were just saying, 50 looks a lot different than 30, and 30 looks a lot different than 18, et cetera, et cetera. So you still gotta have that that want to still get that shit done now type shit.
Yeah. I mean, I like I said, man, I think now more than ever, I don't think the things we're talking about have always been true.
Yeah,
I think when Kid mentioned earlier how, hip hop, or in music in general, there were such limited slots. Yes, a lot of things mattered to get one of those slots because there was just so much curation, as a part of the industry. Like you had to be selected, and those people selecting you had certain things they were looking for. But that's just not the case anymore. That's just not the case anymore. You just got to select yourself and then be willing to do what's necessary to find the people who are looking for you. And that's it. That's it.
The internet changed the game, for sure.
Yeah.
Man. Yeah, this conversation's been going on for a minute, but I feel like next week or the next topic, like that the piece of it of just like how you get set up to whether or not you're going to be depressed at 28.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I was watching, and I feel like you talk about this all the time just from your experience. And, we just kind of figured this out. But I was watching a video where this scientist, he was discussing growth mindset and then your mindset on stress. And we won't get to, we could just save it for next topic, but it was basically explaining how in various studies how when you encourage a child or an adult, but the study was done in mostly children, how when you encourage a person based on kind of identity stuff, like you tell a kid when they perform well, oh, you're so smart, versus action performance when they do well, you tell them, oh, you worked hard, you applied yourself, you studied, you did a great job. How the next time they do something, or even more so when they do bad, like how they perform over time. And what they found is people who have their identities wrapped around particular actions versus the actions they took to get to certain actions, those people perform worse over time, especially when they don't perform well on something versus the people who their identity isn't wrapped around the result. It's more so about the steps they took, and they're able to perform better over time. I feel like that would be a great discussion for next week when it comes to like improving and getting better, and just like how you like just look at yourself, you know what I'm saying, when it comes to this creative and highly subjective and sensitive industry where we got to put our identities on the line. So, yeah.
That's a great, I love that. Send me that, whatever you saw or read. That sounds like something I need to know about raising my kids.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think that's a
Same
good one.
here.
And I won't just talk about it now. We can say this later. But I think it's a good one because I just recently had like an awareness moment with myself, just like reflecting on some things like, oh shit, that's where these behaviors stem from. Just this certain mindset with certain things. So yeah, I think that's a dope conversation topic to have, especially as being an adult now and how that like stuff like that can still affect you.
I Hold on. I'm gonna tell you why. Now we gotta end this conversation. But I will say, one of the reasons why I'm extremely curious about that study and not just immediately like, oh yeah, that sounds great, is because like you said that the people who didn't have that immediately tied to their identity, but more so to the work that they put in, they performed better over time.
Mm-hmm.
What I would be curious as to, they performed or produced better over time, but where did they land in terms of self-worth and self-value? Did they tie their self-worth and self-value to their productiveness?
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel like that's me, where people would have 1000% say, oh, that dude performed and produced much better than category A over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I did not attribute any of my productivity. I didn't have any inherent self-worth.
Yeah.
And my identity was obliterated.
Yeah, and so that's what was interesting. Part of it is that like, in where I was interpreting, or kind of synthesizing some of that information, is that they mentioned it in the video that it's impossible to detach your identity completely to anything. Like that's just a part of who we are. Like our identity is going to be found in something. So I definitely think, and they didn't really talk about this dynamic in the video, but what our identities get attached to has to be just as intentional to what it doesn't get attached to. And things that can perform well or not perform well, I feel like are dangerous because they're volatile, and it takes. And when your identity is volatile, like it can be crushed. In the same way, it's going to be attached to something. So So what does it get attached to, right? Some people attach it to their faith. Some people attach it to, you know what I'm saying? Just
only that John Hagen pause. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maybe not attached to this, but attached it to something.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
Yeah.
For sure.
But yeah, I send y'all the junk, so y'all can check it out. It's kind of a long video, but it was dope.
For sure. Well, on that note, if anybody got any last concerns, comments, ideas?
I'm concerned about the streets.
Period.
What a better way to,
I'm definitely concerned about the streets. You know what I'm saying? Period. Come on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's your snap every
Period.
That's the tag. On that note, this is your man, I Make Mad Beats. I am next to
Kid Maestro.
Kid Maestro. Unique, and LJ1S. We all here. We are Type Beat, live from the Unapologetic Studio. With Sheena on the boards, you know what I'm saying?
Typing away.
Yes,
Period.
indeed.
Typing the beat.
Come on. Type beat.
Come
Come on.
You heard me going.
That's what she said. That's what she said. Like a mug, you know what I'm saying? Just go ahead, say pause. Man said, let me hold that. You saw me going for it, and you just gonna snatch it away from me. Come on, bro. That's that.
On that note, next week, we go live right around this time every week. We live on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube. And while you are waiting for our next live podcast, live stream, go ahead and download that Unapologetic World app. It's free and it's available for iOS and Android devices.
Yeah.
Copy.
It's designed by your boy. And it's not many of us out here designing apps this way and for these reasons. So please go and check it out. Go and tell me it sucks. Just go download it first. Check it out.
Yeah.
Also, make sure you submit your song to the Underground as Fuck Radio.
Yeah.
Definitely.
AF Radio.
Period.
You know what I'm saying? You'll find that and how
It's
to do
free.
That. It's free as well. You'll find out how to do that in the app.